Panthers are going to win the comp. You watch them. Up into 6.
It's a massive call.
I think this is the most contentious one we have. It's going to be interesting to see where it ends up because it'll tell the story of what the rest of the year holds for the Bulldogs.
The Warriors don't score that many points, but now they've got a completely different attack. So we might see a different type of Warriors side.
Welcome back to Ahead of the Game Sports Chat. It's Sports Pez Jez and Tuck Sports Takes from bets.com.au, where we are editors and write game previews completely free for you to look at every single week for a range of different sports. This one's all about NRL, Jez.
Yes, sir, it is. Our best and worst one, I think. It's the one we know the most about and probably tip the worst at. Nah, it's not that bad. But we certainly have got all the stuff. We're building our data sheets now over at bets.com.au as well, called the cheat sheet, which you'll find in for every game now. All the stuff that we use to make our predictions, you'll pretty much find there. So, and all free. As we said, all you got to do is jump on there and find it, go into each game preview, and it will be there for your use to make your educated guesses about punting, just like the rest of us.
Exactly. So this episode, we're going to look at round 20 NRL and give our tips and maybe look at some stats or matchups, trends in each game and see what we think could happen. Maybe talk about some expectations or some predictions and see how we end up.
Yeah. I think it went all right. Last time we did this was a few weeks ago, been both gallivanting around Europe. But you smashed me last time we threw one of these out in round 17. So I got to peg some back this week.
I say to you, sir, good luck.
Yeah.
Round 1. Oh, sorry, game 1. Thursday night. So I did this write-up today, and it'll be published once team lists go out. The Dolphins, they lost on the weekend to Cronulla, and the Cowboys almost had the upset of the round by beating the Bulldogs, but they didn't because they were rubbish. They had like an 18-point turnaround. So it was 8-0 about 6 or 7 minutes before halftime. They scored a try, but it was brought back for a double movement. 4 minutes left in the half. The Bulldogs score their first try of the game, and right on halftime, they score their second try of the game, and it's 12-8, and that's the way the score finishes. It's crazy.
Yeah, insane. Yeah, that game really sort of showed a couple of things. It shows how poor Canterbury's attack is because they struggled to score against the second worst defense in the NRL, in the Cowboys. And it also sort of showed how poor the Cowboys are at the moment as well. Like, they're just so inconsistent in what they're doing in attack. And yeah, so I think that's why I think we've both gone for the Dolphins, even though they struggled last week. Hammer's back. I think the only question mark for me in this is Cody Nikorima is still going to be out. So he's done wonders there as well. Sean Sullivan is playing for him, and there's just not that same connection with Katoa in the halves. So that scares me, but I'm still going to back the Dolphins purely like they can still score points week in and week out, especially with Hammer in the form that he's in at the moment. And the Cowboys leak. That's why the predicted score from our models is like 36 points, because that's an average score these days against the Cowboys.
Yeah, and I agree. They didn't keep that score line to 12 against the Bulldogs because they were great defensively. It's because the Bulldogs were shit in attack. And you look at their line break statistics, opposition line break statistics, they're worst in the league. They're worst at allowing teams to score tries when they get into 20-metre zone. And then you look at the other side in the Dolphins, they're at the top or near the top in territory, in possession, in try scoring, conversions and efficiency rates. Their line breaks are also extremely good. So everything kind of trending towards a Dolphins blowout here for mine.
A good pun. Pun intended or what? A little Dolphin blowout?
Whoa.
The sound effects, exact. So Finn's up there. Let's go to game 2.
Sharks and Roosters.
You're so loyal, buddy. Aren't you a loyal little chookie?
Cock a
Mm,
doodle do.
mm. Tell me why? Why are the Chooks beating Cronulla
Well, it's
as the
Cronulla's.
underdog?
Yeah, and that kind of surprised me a little bit. Cronulla are not great. They've struggled against top teams once again this year. The Roosters
Mm.
are now a top team, so they're 3-7 against the top 8. The Sharks are.
It's good
Um,
for the Sharks. They're on the up.
that's a good, yeah,
They're usually
exactly,
1-7.
yeah. And it's just the inconsistencies in defense for mine for Cronulla that some days they're on, some days they're off, and
Mm,
with the Roosters being so dynamic in their attack, they have so many players in their team that can bust the line and create opportunities. Sam Walker back in the fold, doing things, and yeah, I just can't see where the Sharks one hold out defensively, but two put enough points on to outscore the Roosters.
mm. Yeah, the Roosters have been incredible in attack. You see that another what's his name? Mark. We need a short Marky Mark and call him. Another flick pass he did on the weekend.
Yeah,
So I don't want to like
unbelievable.
he's crazy. I heard rugby was still on the hunt for him again, trying to get him back after his contract with the Roosters is up. But it's another kettle of fish. I don't know. I see the Sharks at home. They've been better at home over, I don't know, the last few months. They did take a hiding against the Warriors, though, but beat the Dolphins last week. They beat the Saints. They beat Melbourne at home. So they've won 3 of their last 4 at Shark Park. I think Hines, for me, he's definitely a confidence player, and he had probably his best game he's had in a while last week against the Dolphins. Scored 2 tries, kicked goals, looked much sharper, looked better. So I don't know. I'm going to say that they pinch one. The Roosters didn't look that flash hot against St George. They almost lost that game. So I don't know. I'm just leaning. I'm leaning on a lot of all the home favourites really. I think this week. So that just goes down to a home team. It's going to be close. I think this game. I think it's one of the ones that will definitely differentiate between lots of people tipping. But I'm following the numbers, the statistics that you built, and the Roosters will win by 6.
Home favourites are covering at 53%, 53.7% rate this year.
Mm.
The away underdog covering at 48%. So they're two of the two pretty big differences in numbers there. But the underdog is covering if you take away obviously it's the home dog that's doing really well, but the underdogs just in general covering at a 53% rate and winning.
It's only a 3.5 point difference, like
Mm.
in the odds for that game. So
What's the head to head between these two teams? I'm just bringing it up now. I want to kind of remember that the Roosters own this head to head. They do. So Cronulla have won just 2 of the last 6 games. No, sorry, 2 of the last 8, but one of those is a finals game. 5, 6, 7. So they've only won 2 of the last 7 regular season matchups. They played earlier this year. The Roosters won 42-16.
smash them. What, Sunshine
Cronulla's got
Coast up
no
there? Nice.
chance.
Yeah, we'll see. Game 3.
Rabbitohs up against the Panthers. Panthers are going to win the comp. You watch them. Up into 6th.
It's a massive call. Here, note that down. You can throw that in as the first little snippet of this podcast. Panthers are going to win the comp. They're going to win.
It was just like,
yeah, you know what? It's shaping up that way, really, isn't it? Like they hit all this tough adversity, and now they've won their last 5. Cleary's back and healthy. Their defense is back. I think is the biggest difference I think I wrote the game against the Eels, and it was like, yeah, I think over the 4 games that they've won, they're back averaging just 12 points against. And that's what the Penrith have always built their last few premierships and even a grand final loss on the year before. Everyone, you sort of forget, they've won 4, but they've played in the last 5 grand finals. So, and it's always been the same thing. They've been the best defensive team in the comp, and they weren't that at the start of the year. Something unhinged with some of this player movement, but now they've found their stride. I think they're comfortable in their centers and wings now, with some of the new guys like Jensen and McLean McLean coming in, and that takes time. And that's, they've always been so solid. And those guys that they lost, and the structure, even in their attack in the early tackle counts, they rely on certain guys to do the work, and then their other wingers and stuff and centers to do something else. And I think all of that comes into play. Plus, then your defensive structure, which was hurting them at the start of the year, but now older Cleary is sorted it out, it looks, and they're going to be hard to score against, which means they're always going to be in games to win. And you've got the Iceman of the comp in your team who can score tries or set up tries. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either if they win the comp, but it's still a big call.
But this game feels pretty kind of one-sided. Just the Rabbitohs' defense and even their attack is just. You thought it was going to get better once all the players got back and they had Campbell Graham and Jack Whiten and Latrell Mitchell and Cody Walker, and there was a game.
I think it'll take time. Like, players have come back in different stages. Plus, with Latrell being out through the Origin period, like, I don't think they're going to win this game. Absolutely not. But I think they'll get better. I think if they can stay healthy now at the end of the season, I'm not expecting them to push for a top 8 spot, but I think that they'll improve, and then hopefully they'll build to a better 2026. But you tip against them every game.
15th in possession, opposition efficiency inside 20, and they're last in run meters, line breaks, territory. Opposition run meters, opposition line breaks, opposition territory. They're
shit
struggle street. Next one, Raiders against the Parramatta Eels. This one I think is interesting, Jez, because the predicted scoreline has it being a blowout. And we know, like, I haven't written a lot of Raiders games on bets.com.au. It's normally Andy that gets them because they play a lot of Saturdays. But their 1-12 record for like a 1-12 margin it's unbelievable. I think I'm trying to get it up here. I don't know if it's like 90% of their wins have been 1-12.
I think it even dates back to last season. The stuff that Andy's been throwing out there is like not just this year. It's like their last, year and a half of footy has been 1-12 wins.
Yeah, so 10 of the 14 wins they've had this season are 1-12 margins.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that's what they do. They grind, they're not showy, and because of a fair few of their tries come from just opportunistic moments, the ones that are proper structure plays, there's not a lot of them because they don't always have the need. So it's like, okay, well, they get a few points and then they just knuckle down defensively, tie the game up in the middle, run hard, and then it's the win. But they're still a little bit vulnerable in some defensive aspects. And you've seen teams creep up on them and scare them, but somehow they just get away with wins.
Yeah, like, you still don't understand why they're what are they on top of the ladder now at the moment?
Yeah.
We'll say, like, why they're the best team in the comp, or top 2. Like, there's nothing flashy about it, but everybody's doing their job. Everyone's playing their role. A lot of people are saying this is the best year Ricky Stewart has ever coached, because he's getting the most out of every player on his team. And that's the thing. Like, besides sort of some highlight reels that Kara Weeks is doing, like, otherwise it's just they're scoring tries, they're getting enough points, they manage their margin. Like,
Yeah.
but that's all you got to do apparently.
And Parramatta, they're
Yeah.
in the race for the bottom.
Yeah. I don't know. They can't seem to get it together, and it's a long time. I think we were discussing it a little bit earlier or last weekend, just about the effect of Gutho not being there has probably been the biggest underestimate. I don't know, that people thought, okay, Gutho's moving on, they're going to be fine, but they've struggled. They've struggled like goal line defense. They've struggled for motivation. There's nobody lifting the team. There's nobody leading that team at the moment. So they're going to be in trouble until it's going to take a few years, I still think, for the old Eels to sort things out. This game, Raiders will win 1-12.
Just bear with me 1 second. And I have the stats here for... So I think it's 21 out of 31 of their wins since the start of 2023 have been 1-12.
Yeah.
So 66%.
60%. Yeah, that's huge.
I think that was a number. I was trying to count, talk, and watch you at the same time.
And I was just too distracted. You didn't mention anything about my Vegemite hat. Now's the time to bring it up, huh? It's all about the Vegemite. Corduroy Vegemite. I'm going to just zoom in so everybody can see. Corduroy Vegemite. This is all class.
It's even
You're not
more.
giving me the reaction I need.
It's only...
See, you can't even count because you're too busy thinking about my Vegemite corduroy hat.
23 of 31.
Mm.
So that's it's more. It's like over 70% of their wins in the last 2.5 seasons have been 1-12 margins. So
just because we talked about it, the Eels will win 1-12.
Next one, rounding out. No, is this the middle game of Super Saturday? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we're different. I'm going Dragons. You're going Bulldogs.
Yeah.
You go first.
Why you? Huh? Mostly, I don't see anything good coming out of the Dragons. I don't think that they have any sort of class to be able to beat the Bulldogs. The Bulldogs are in a little bit of a tough spot. They weren't impressive last week. I think they have had time. It's been a little bit quieter now, besides like Lockie Galvin, I don't know, not getting dropped. Can definitely put that in inverted commas. He didn't get dropped. They just chose a different strategic option. But it'll be interesting to see what happens come Names Day. We're obviously recording this on Monday, and it will be interesting to see what they do with him. But I still think that they've still got the defensive structure to hold the Dragons to a very low score, as the predicted score is of a couple of tries. The Dragons' defense isn't good enough to hold the Bulldogs out. I think the Bulldogs will get back on the train and get back to business. And if that's this week, I hope, because you've tipped against it. But I think they'll get back to business soon, and they'll be in the fight for the premiership again, despite this little drop in the middle of the year.
So my wonder here is how, the Bulldogs are averaging 18 points per game over the last 5. And the Dragons aren't fantastic defensively, but we saw they only able to put 12 points on the Cowboys last week and didn't score a point in the second half. They scored all their points in a 4-minute window before halftime. Yeah. The rest of the game, they didn't score. And I don't know if they have, like, the Dragons are 5th in the season. No, Dragons are away. That would have been great for my narrative. Dragons are 5th in defense at home. they're second last on the road, so that's a bit poo. But
yeah,
the
but they're just down the road. But still, I don't know. There's just too much territory. Dragons lose the territory. I think the Bulldogs are just going to have too much ball to lose this game. I think that's where the difference will be. The game will be played in the Bulldogs attacking half. Dragons won't get their chances, and when they do, the Bulldogs defense is still pretty solid. Or very solid.
I
So I
think
think
this is
that's
the
what it
most.
comes down to for me.
I think this is the most contentious one we have, and it's gonna be interesting to see where it ends up because it'll tell the story of what the rest of the year holds for the Bulldogs.
So you're putting the whole Bulldogs season on a game against St. George.
No, I'm not putting their whole season on it, but it's going to give you a window into when you see the game last week against North Queensland. You see who they're in a rut.
Yeah.
They're in a pretty big rut right now, and it's like, okay, well, if they can't get out of it against one of the worst teams in the league, so
Yeah. No, I understand what you're saying. You are right there. Like if they've had a poor few weeks, they scrapped a win against the Cowboys. If they have to scrap a win or lose to St. George, you can almost put a line through the premiership. Like they'll play
yeah,
finals, but if they're struggling there, teams will work out. We'll find them out
yeah, well,
eventually.
that's what we said. They've peaked at the wrong
Mm,
time of the year, possibly,
mm,
and
mm.
it's not uncommon for a team that is up and coming to get a little bit too excited when they see some good performances and some success. We're like, oh shit! But you don't win the comp in April. You don't win the comp in June. You win it in September or in October,
Mm,
actually.
mm.
But wait and see. It'll be interesting.
Yeah. Crichton back, Kurt Mann back. They'll win.
Storm up against the Sea Eagles. This one is pretty straightforward, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is it? It's as simple as the Storm are unbeatable at Amy Park. They score way too many points at Amy Park. I don't presume that the Seagulls, just without looking at it exactly, the Seagulls have any strong away record. They have been playing a little bit better. Garrick's been a bit better. Daly Cherry Evans, they've just been doing their job, it feels like, the Sea Eagles, but still up and down, nothing against the Storm at home.
No, points scored on the road this season. Manly, they're 15th in the league, 17.7 points per game. So it's right on that predicted scoreline there.
Yeah. For
They're,
Melbourne, it's 37.1 points at home this year and 14 points conceded.
yeah,
So they're first in both of those categories.
yeah.
An average winning margin of 27.4 points at home. So,
Sticky icky.
yeah, you don't need to look at that any further, really, do and then they're getting
How's
all their
Eli
boys back.
Katoa's try scoring form just quietly?
Yeah, what is it now? Like he scored a double last week.
3 straight games he scored.
Yeah, and it's like multiples. Even there was 2 last week. I want to bring that up.
Bring it up. But I just think I was thinking about it while I was watching these games over the weekend that second rowers or forwards in general, but mainly second rowers are getting across at an
Mm,
alarming rate. Hudson Young,
mm,
Preston for the
mm.
Bulldogs, Eli
Yeah,
Katoa. Guys are just it's off kicks, it's off like
yeah,
beautiful hole running. They're just amazing.
yeah. So he's scored 4 tries in his last 3, but he's scored 5 tries in his last 5.
Mm.
So that's certainly increased a lot. Line breaks, try assists. He's that like Jeremiah Nanai, exactly the same type of front rower. That he's scoring just as much off kicks as he is off running at lines, but still he's a danger running at the line. So I think that's where it's so difficult to stop like second rowers like that, because if they're pinching up in the line, you've also got to look for a short ball, but otherwise it can just be a little pop over, and they're right there as well. So it's like how do you defend that?
Mm.
It's definitely a massive threat for Melbourne to have him.
Storm
So
have scored
anytime try
first.
scorer and 13 plus. That's the one.
Storm have scored first in 4 of the last 5 games as well. So pretty interesting stat line to take you out, especially at home where they score so many points. Could be a good one to jump on there. Is there any other kind of stat matchup in this one that we like? Run meters are good, possession, but they overs is hit 3 of the last 5. 1 to 12 margins, 3 of the last 5 for these.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really interesting battle. Like, one of the big stats that we talk about a lot is run meters, and it's first versus second. Manly are first in run meters. Melbourne second in run meters.
Melbourne also second in opposition run meters. So their defense, they keep them in check. All right, move on. Another spoon bowl. Tigers and Titans.
This is a tough one.
Split down the middle.
Yeah, which will mean that the Titans will win because I backed against them coming from the Gold Coast. That's how it works.
So the Tigers are a better team this year. They've played a lot better, and you saw, what was it, 2 weeks ago when Finer just had a breakout game, that they have the ability. But my thought here is that the Titans are a much better team in general. They have better players, a better roster. Should be more cohesive. And when they do score points, they are just really good at it. And I don't know whether the Tigers' defense that we saw at the start of the season, and we applauded it so well, that how good they were defensively, it's just fallen off a cliff in the second half of the season. And I just don't know whether they have enough firepower defensively to stop the Titans if they get on a roll. And it's because they're going to score a point, they're going to score a try or two. And I think for Gold Coast, it's all about momentum. If they can get momentum in this game, they'll roll over the Tigers.
Yeah. These games are usually like hanging the balance for quite some time before one team usually takes over. Like, watching Titans games, you're always expected over the last few years that the Titans would beat the Tigers, and they often do. But it feels like these games are just a game that the Titans are expected to win is never a good game, because they're the games they usually bomb.
They're underdogs.
But it's still like a game where they're expected to compete. And I don't know. That's why I just see that these are the games where they can fall apart miserably. I just have no faith in them, and no faith in Des Hasler. It's just a matter of time before he gets fired. I thought it was going to happen this week. There was a lot of talk about it.
Yeah.
But especially with the Walker brothers saying that they're ready to take over. And we were also discussing this the other day, where it's just they're throwing out these crazy lines of they're going to fill Seabus. The problem's going to be there's not enough seats in Seabus. We'll win a premiership with the Titans. Mate, they're big calls. I can't wait. They're going to save those interviews to put that in the archive for when they also go arse up and get a wooden spoon, because I don't know how to save the Titans. And this game will show it. They'll lose to the Tigers.
Last game of the round, a very low predicted scoreline here between the Knights and the Warriors. We're both on the Warriors, and I think it's interesting that the Warriors predicted to score so few points. What do you think that comes down to? Is it Newcastle's defense, or is it
Newcastle's
Warriors'
defense? Besides Newcastle getting they got dusted a little bit last week, just bringing up 32 points by the Storm, but otherwise they've been really solid. But they're obviously struggling now with injuries on top of already struggling in attack, so that might even affect Newcastle quite a lot. But now they've had a couple of games at home, you get a bit of time to settle in. But it is also we mentioned this. We did a pod about if the Warriors were done now that Metcalf is out, and then they came out and scored 34 points last week when they've been struggling in attack as well. So obviously these stats go on the statistics of points scored and points conceded throughout the year, and this, like the stats say that the Warriors don't score that many points, but now they've got a completely different attack. So we might see a different type of Warriors side. And if last week's anything to go by, they were playing the Tigers, but 34 points is still a good haul for the Warriors. Could even be their biggest score of the year. I'm just going to try and pull that up, but it's like, oh no, they've scored 36 and twice and 40 once. So one of their biggest scores of the year without their star halfback. So I think the shape, it's one of those games, I think, for the Warriors where, or a time for the Warriors where teams don't know how their attack is. So it's hard to prepare the week before. So I'm not surprised that the prediction is this low, but I think it'll be a more comfortable win for the Warriors because I think they'll be able to score more points than predicted, and Newcastle are shot.
So these two teams did play back on Anzac Round, and in that round we had a predictive, just using the same technique of modeling. It was 16-6 was the predictive model to the Warriors. And if you're using a little bit more data from previous years, it was 21-16 essentially, which is what it ended up, 26-14, right? 26-12. So
what, earlier in the year?
Yeah. I don't think that the Warriors have such a big problem scoring against this Newcastle team because they're one of the teams that have been able to score points against the Knights already this year. So I don't trust the model on this one. I think the Warriors are going to win by more, and I'm hard fought seeing the Knights. Maybe they'll reach 12, 2 tries, but 3 tries I think is a bit of a stretch for mine.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, done and dusted. So Dolphins, we're on there. Then we're taking one side each in the in the Sharks and Roosters game. We're on board with each other in the Panthers and the Raiders matchups, but we are split again. You have the Dogs, I have the Dragons. Then the Storm to beat the Sea Eagles. We're both on there. Another split decision with the Tigers and the Titans. I'm on the Titans, you're on the Tigers. And we finish the round together with the Warriors. Well, Jez, there's a lot. Could be some movement in this one.
Yeah. Back to the mean. Back to the middle. Peg those two games back this week.
Figure out the tally of all the tips have had this little period. See who's in front.
Yeah.
All right, let's wrap it all up, eh? Right. Don't forget to head over to bets.com.au to check out all the game previews, not only for NRL, but AFL. You got some cricket coming up as well.
Yeah, heaps of cricket. West Indies. Then before you know it, it's going to be Big Bash. There's lots of test cricket coming up between now and then as well. So it's a big cricket season. Formula One every week as well. There's A-League, or the A-League's just about finishing up shortly too, I think. Right?
Lots going. Oh, they play
heaps going on. Oh yeah, it must have just finished. Anyway, tennis, heaps of tennis. It's always tennis.
Always tennis.
Oh, it's always tennis. Poor Andy, powering through tennis. Good at it too.
All right, wrap us up.
All right,
send us home.
Just remember, hang with us and stay ahead of the game.